No fear, just like Tom Cruise.
The concept of being overrated is a matter of perspective. It could be something so abysmal you can't believe anybody likes it, let alone a remotely high rating.
Fucking amazing!
But then you have the products that are actually really good, just not the best things in existence. For example, given we call the Beatles a pop band, the mighty Led Zeppelin may be a bit overrated, only because they're considered the best. When it comes to the movie industry, it's no exception, and 2025 has had its share of
"What the hell is this?"
Luckily, I can go without the artificial validation, as in, the movie's not perfect, get over it, or in some cases, it's shit. I'm gonna go through these in a way that the idiocracy increases as we go, and do keep in mind I don't really hate most of these, it's just the ratings are a bit too corporate. If you can't handle that, leave now, dislike and unsubscribe while you're at it, it'll give you a feeling of meaning, but to those who can handle an opinion that might not be theirs,
Fuck this shit!
let's get into it. It honestly pains me to put F1 on the list because it's a good movie. The summer movie we all needed, only suffering from one issue we knew it would have. When you have Brad Pitt playing Brad Pitt and, Desmond Idris as a much younger racer Joshua, you know there's gonna be that mandatory conflict, and it's gonna take up a good part of the movie. It's more likely to get a horror movie when a single parent and kid do get along. More on that later. And given it's again Brad Pitt, let's just say they have no issue partaking in this. On multiple occasions, the bickering causes their team to lose, like right off the bat, and the resolution is non-existent. Joshua almost dies in an accident which he caused himself. Brad Pitt forfeits the race because of this. It does not justify any more attention, but upon recovering, he goes back to being a dick. The feud then just goes away. The reason I take issue with this is because it makes the movie a half hour longer. All that time devoted to completely unreasonable tension that happens because they think it has to. I know the official rating doesn't lean toward complete perfection, but a lot of other sites do, many calling it perfect, but I'll tell you who doesn't, the real F1 fans. Yeah, it turns out when you make it into a sport about technicalities, deliberately damaging your own car to stop the race, gaining benefits of the new tires, all while nobody stops it,
Horseshit!
it does become an issue that's kind of hard to overlook. I mean, you'd have to be an F1 fan, and for that reason, more power to them, making that sport entertaining. It's why I hate including this movie. But relying on tired cliches and really demanding you suspend your disbelief when it comes to basic rules, I can't help but question anybody who deems it one of the best things this year. That's why it's only number 10. It's really about perspective.
You're 8.
This is a disaster.
Starting to feel more like a 9.
The reason I include Ballerina is it's a spin-off that can't justify its existence. We're gonna get more into this idea later, but once you go beyond the original, even if you know it can't be as good, there has to be some justification. I've seen a lot of people review this movie as slightly less good John Wick. If that was the case, I wouldn't be talking about it. Thing is, the crooks of this movie are not as dynamic or even as unique as the main franchise. Instead, we get a simple revenge mission without any justification.
No! Not again!
I guess in a John Wick movie that kinda makes sense, but given what happens in the intro, and the reasons given to not go on this mission, it isn't justified enough. If you can believe this, I actually prefer Ana de Armas to Keanu Reeves. I don't love him that much, but if you don't do anything to make me care, it becomes irrelevant. Maybe John Wick got way more movies, but it's more likely that in Ballerina, it quickly evolves into one big set piece after another. There are a few unique ideas thrown in, like the flamethrower. She has like one memorable line. But the fact is, when John Wick showing up becomes the best thing about the movie, the show stealer, from a guy who I don't even like that much, that essentially means you failed. You fail to stand out, to be a spin-off that can remotely justify existing, and something like that getting good reviews is problematic. You gotta do something new aside from being a female. I don't believe this does. And the overrated factor are the reviews that completely gloss over this. Then again, early screenings weren't even allowed to review this movie, just enthusiastic criticism, so what does that tell ya? I don't believe in like it for what it is, you have to have a reason to be there, and since Ballerina doesn't, it's overrated.
I'm working on it.
Before anybody says anything, Weapons is the best movie on this list. It's potential top 10 material. The only reason it's here, is because of the extreme acclaim, despite one issue that's mostly gone unnoticed. The idea of several scenarios taking place at the same time, each one having its own effect, eventually coming together, is for the most part masterfully done. The only issue, and it's really a shame they missed this, 2 of the scenarios are kinda pointless.
You fucking nuts!
As the audience wonders what happened to the missing kids, why did they mysteriously disappear during the night, and in the end it's a homeless drug addict, James, who incidentally finds out. He does this while raiding their house for silverware. It's not exactly too shocking the kids are there, given it's the house of the only kid who didn't go missing. And since Officer Morgan, who took up the previous segment, doesn't like James that much, they don't exactly think things through. They go there, the officer goes in alone, despite being a scenario when kids walked out of their homes. You can't deny something may be going on here. The outcome is getting possessed, dragging James in too. That's it for them. The issue is not that it's too convenient, it's not that it isn't satisfying enough. No, the inherent flaw is, it doesn't affect anything. When Archer and Justine finally make their way there, it's got nothing to do with them. They are actually surprised to see the cop car, and even though it does affect the climax as they have to kill them both, that's really all it affects. They die, rendering their inclusion irrelevant. Maybe not to the audience, as it's them who shows us what's going on, but from a storyline perspective, they don't affect anything. Perhaps if the cop lived, that would be something, or if them being there somehow led the other 2 there. It's not that difficult. I know some may call nitpicking, but it's kind of hard to rewatch the movie knowing these 2 don't have any effect. When it comes to movies like this, that's the idea. Not a bad movie deserving most of the acclaim, but this should have been called out.
Suck my dick.
I'm not gonna bother researching if this is the final Mission Impossible movie. Who cares? But it's another entry of a film that I like, only it's still disappointing. The issues with this movie did occasionally get called out, I can't deny that. Probably too long, several pacing issues when the movie chooses to cut away, a big self-indulgent vibe, and while the entity worked as a plot device in part 1, at some point, you want it to be more than just the entity. It's not that fascinating. I just think the time wasn't put in like they thought it was a given, and given the quality of the last part and most of the movies in this franchise, the step down is noticeable. It really is a debatable issue, but if you look up this movie, the rating you'll see is simply too high for what it is. With something this long, a second part, potential conclusion to a career-defining franchise, not to mention the biggest stake of any Mission Impossible movie, you have to do better. A lot of people share this opinion, which may lead you to believe it shouldn't be here for that reason, but believe me, these issues have gone ignored by many. If not for simply being the movie it is and having such high anticipation, I think the inherent flaws would have reduced the rating. It's Mission Impossible, I think that meant something. That's just my take.
I have no regrets. Neither should you.
And now we have the first movie that I really don't like, and that may be confusing, as Clown in a Cornfield seemingly is just a good slasher movie, right?
Wrong!
This is an issue that some seem to think doesn't matter. When it comes to a movie specifically designed to set up a mystery and lead to a twist, there are things you simply can't do. Most notably, it has to not be blatantly obvious. We don't need a deep narrative dive here. There's a clown called Friendo. You soon find out he's no joke. And you also find out the town that our father and daughter duo who don't get along too good moved into is full of people who hate teenagers. When you realize the clowns are high in multitude and clearly aren't supernatural, it's not too hard to deduce what's going on. I believe I clarified this in my review, how not to subvert expectations, because as soon as shit goes down, the outcome is blatantly clear. If it somehow isn't yet, it's the authority figures who are behind it. And by setting up this stupid mystery, I can't remotely get into this. Some disagree, they say you like it for what it is, but to that I say, what even is it? Generic slasher movie full of overused cliches, the characters making jokes at the most unusual times after somebody or even one of them gets brutally killed. It's way too heavy on the comedy. I'll admit the phone bit was pretty hilarious, but that's about it. We get this weird scene at the end when our comedian in training has to drive them to safety, but you can't use a stick shift, and I guess it's a better idea to learn on the spot instead of having somebody else drive.
Are you fucking retarded?
It's just confusing. Some reason the main antagonist gets away isn't mentioned again. I'm not seeing any sequel in the works. Probably should be. It did do big business. And the movie looks the right way. People like it. I can't think of anything that stands out about this. The storyline is especially weak. It's blatantly obvious, even incomplete. I think that deserves a bad rating, yet the masses disagree.
I tried to warn you, but you didn't listen.
But you can like the video, subscribe down below, and make sure to hit the bell to get notified, as recommendations likely won't come. I know what a lot of you are thinking. Fuck. Again, we're gonna talk about my personal beliefs, and kinda like how Ballerina was a spin-off that couldn't justify itself, Nobody Part 2 is even worse. It's a sequel. Even though they can't hope to outdo the original, I believe they have to have something in mind, something different, even if it can't be as good. The first Nobody was amazing, not just an action movie, a thought-provoking, well-paced, satisfying film, but the inherent issue is, the story was told. All they can do is rehash it, set up a new coincidental scenario, take the movie on vacation because that's equally as intriguing, but the captivating writing and relatable main character that had us so enthused with the original is non-existent here. There's no growth in this. Hutch doesn't even have a choice but to get involved. I mean, he kinda did, but not intentionally, and if that wasn't bad enough, they blatantly copy the first movie's layout.
Positively shocking.
That's a big issue because, like I said, no development, so you have a long stretch that is basically pointless. Stuff like the amazing bus scene is replaced with a fucking banana boat, which impacts nothing. If you've seen the first movie, you know what I mean by the relevancy of that scene, and the ending is the same thing, only in a theme park and not as good. A lot of people, even the critical drinker, who, let's face it, is a bit too critical, had no issue deeming this a fun movie, but I don't find it that fun. Parts of it are, but not enough to justify its existence. I know some people don't like that mindset, but if it wasn't a sequel to that movie, then it wouldn't be an issue. I hate to say it, but it does matter. This simply doesn't fit with that movie's tone, so if you want to have a fun vacation action movie, just name it something else. It may sound crazy, but Nobody really meant something.
I'm on fucking vacation!
Oh man, this one had a lot going for it. The newest movie by Bong Joon-ho, a director known for Korean movies, most of which are bangers, decides to take this Robert Pattinson-led film in a very questionable direction. Despite being advertised as Patterson playing 17 versions of Mickey, different personalities, an idea that had my attention. Instead, the concept of being an expendable and having a new one printed when he dies is run through very quickly. The movie actually starts out with the 17th Mickey as in the middle, and then shows us how we got there. But the idea of merely running through that like an afterthought is not the premise I was hoping for. That's okay, you can't complain for that reason alone. The problem is the rest. Basically, they thought he was dead, so Mickey 18 gets printed, the only one with a notably different personality, as in aggressive. And even though it's very enjoyable, even seeing Patterson play two personalities, the movie completely goes off the rails. I don't mean that in a fun, chaotic way, even though it is somewhat chaotic. I mean that in a just random shit way. All this weird stuff that's too bizarre to take seriously. Mark Ruffalo as Kenneth Marshall is painfully generic. His wife is, even worse, outright annoying.
Shut the fuck up!
And it's a lazily written narrative when nobody has any common sense. The finale is real lackluster. Given its premise, it didn't need to be. I don't exactly hate it, there's a charm to some of it, but once you get past the idea of the clones dying, ironically enough, what I wish they didn't use, it just stops being as good. I think the positive reviews just come from who made it. I hate to say that, but if it wasn't somewhat hyped up, I don't see this getting a pass. Not that it was a box office success. You kinda think it would have been. Like I said, when it comes to making money, actors and directors mean nothing. Nobody cares anymore. The biggest disappointment this year by far, and still heavily overrated.
What have I done?
It's just a brilliant film on so many levels.
Has done some great films in his days, but I'm not paying to see this movie, and it's been out since...
What you see here with this review, and many by similar conservative influencers, is that they do not really know what they're talking about.
Your average American is not going to see this. The only draw is Leonardo DiCaprio.
Enough! Look, I know there's no good way to say this. I know it will lead to a problem, but one battle after another is just a good movie. 98, 95% positive, best movie of the year, best Paul Thomas Anderson film, whatever you want to call it, it's simply not the case. The pacing is problematic, the opening being the biggest issue. A lot of stuff toward the end is very convenient, and a couple of Sean Penn bits are questionable. That said, I still enjoyed it, and I think we all know what really happened here. Politics. Unfortunately, when it comes to a political-themed movie, there's no longer a middle ground, and that goes for a lot of people on YouTube. Me being the way I am, refusing to take part in that, it does make things difficult. This movie is the ultimate proof of that, as there's very few reviews that'll just look at it based on basic quality. It's either a disgusting movie or the best thing ever made, depending on how you feel about the issue at hand. I get how some people feel that way, but your job is to review the movie. If you go out and say it's awful because you don't like the theme, then you're not doing your job. However, sticking to the concept of this video, if you review the movie and say you have to see it, ignoring the theme, the heavy left-handed theme, then you're also not doing your job, because they may not be into that. Oddly enough, even the trailers kept that message a secret, which is kind of cowardly. I mean, isn't that the whole point? Are you afraid people won't want to see it? That's not my concern. I review movies based on what they are, to the target audience. Whether it's correct, that's up to you. Somebody decided they knew how I felt based on my mostly positive review. Like I said, they only want perfection, but there is nothing about this movie that says complete perfection. And the fact that if you look it up, you will have people say you must see this movie, that automatically makes it overrated. I know folks on the other side will not agree for the exact same reason, but that is just the way it goes. I still advise seeing it if you haven't. It's a good time, but if you don't lean that way, definitely avoid it.
Oh, fuck you, you fucking moron! Fuck you! You obviously don't have kids, you fucking idiot!
And we're back to talking about Predator, and you may think it's gonna be Predator Badlands, but honestly, a lot of people still don't like that movie. However, something else this year doesn't have that opinion. Killer of Killers, the animated movie also made by Trachtenberg, is only on this list because, again, it's rated way too high. Of the 3 movies he made, it's definitely my favorite because it's still good, but it's also heavily reliant on just get to the good parts, and the ending is a complete mess. Recently, I've come to realize there is a debate. The idea of the Predators doing this may be a bit more logical than you may think. That is, making 3 individuals who have proved their worth fight to the death and then fight the strongest Predator is still ridiculous given the honor system. But again, in the first movie, the Predator did try and kill Dutch via explosion, so obviously he wasn't too honorable. But it's not just about the honor system assuming they fought. He or she is not gonna beat that Predator. You know, not on their own. Especially a fucking plane pilot, that's completely unfair. So in the end, it still doesn't make sense. Not to mention the finale being a mess in general. He even threw in a big monster because whatever. But even if we avoid that, no matter what you do, if you take the movie in this easy direction, avoid the parts that make you think, I don't see how that gets such a high rating. I have other issues too. You can check out the video in which I go in way more detail. It's still a very fun movie, but not as good as they say it is. I didn't want to end this by discussing 2 movies we literally talked about in 2 videos each, but that's just the way it is. The Smashing Machine is just awful. It's a terrible movie that fails no matter how you look at it, and I know it's a biopic, but even on Rotten Tomatoes, both the scores are high. The audience score, and it's just, what do you like about this? People give their reasons, the acting, they say they relate. I don't see how. But you literally don't need to know anything about Mark Kerr to understand why this sucks. This movie portrays a guy who brags about MMA fighting, loses 1 match, and cries about it, takes it out on his girlfriend for no reason, which eventually leads her into going mentally insane, eventually loses some big match out of guilt, and the conclusion may be one of the most disturbing endings in any movie this year. I didn't know it was a horror movie, that's a horrific thought, and like I said, it doesn't work regardless of how true it is. If it's exaggerated, then who cares? If it's not exaggerated, why would you want to give this guy a movie? He's obviously an asshole. I'm not saying that's true, but it doesn't fucking matter. It's not even exciting, it's mostly just them arguing, very little fighting going on in this. It's nothing special. And the fact that they gave Christie a lower rating is disgusting. That's a real biopic, actually has a story to tell. And even if there isn't a huge amount of fighting, that's not all there is to that narrative. The Smashing Machine has no excuse not to give us what it promised. No offense to Mr. Kerr, but if this is real, you're not that fascinating. The fact that I don't need to look anything up to know it's shit says it all. I know, repetitious, but this is what the year gave us. The rating should be very low, it's in the fucking 70s, and that by default makes it the most overrated thing of 2025. So far. Comment down below, tell me how it's all wrong. If not, like the video, subscribe if you agree, and don't forget the bell to get notified. Recommendations may fail. I'm the analyst, and remember kids, it's all perspective. That's very important here.